Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our live coverage of another latest mission from Vandenberg Space Force Base, Space Launch Complex, Port East. We are awaiting for a Falcon 9 liftoff at 11:20 p.m. Eastern Time on 9th May from California for a southeasterly launch dedicated to building out its Starlink broadband mega constellation. The Starlink Mission 8-2 will launch 20 Starlink satellites to low Earth orbit, including 13 with direct cell capabilities. This launch marks SpaceX 343rd launch overall. Hello, my name is Dikto Maitra. I will be performing the commentary duties for today's mission launch. We are super excited to be here with you today, bringing you the coverage of SpaceX 49th launch just of this year. The launch of a batch of 20 Starlink satellites for SpaceX. This will be the 33rd dedicated Starlink mission of this year for SpaceX. Prior to today's launch, SpaceX has launched 725 Starlink satellites so far, over 32 flights in 2024 this year only, and overall 6,373 Starlink satellites to date. Most of our launches are solo shows here, so bear with me if we run into some technical issues, but we will do our level best to guide you smoothly through the launch of Falcon 9 rocket, which is coming up soon. So far, SpaceX reports that the weather is looking great for today's Falcon 9 launch opportunity and the range is ready to support. Having a low probability of violation and favorable outlook, we hope that they are able to hit the start of launch window and not have to push too far. But if for some reason we don't launch today, we do have an additional opportunity tomorrow, that is Friday, May 10th, with launch window opening at 8:21 p.m. Pacific time, 11:21 p.m. Eastern time. Let's learn about our very own Falcon 9 in details. Falcon 9 that's supporting today's mission is the world's first orbital class reusable two-stage rocket with height of 70 meter and diameter of 3.7 meter. It's designated for reliable and safe transportation of satellites, cargo and people into Earth orbit and beyond. At the very top of the rocket is the payload fairing made of a carbon composite material with a height of 13.1 meter or 43 feet and 5.2 meter or 17.1 feet in diameter. The fairing is a protective shell that houses all of the spacecraft and shields them from aerodynamic heating and mechanical stresses that happen as we ride through Earth's atmosphere. The aerodynamic shape of fairing also contributes to Falcon 9's overall efficiency, reducing drag as we accelerate through the lower part of Earth's atmosphere. But once we get to vacuum of space, those two fairing halves separates, exposing the payload within, and then those fairing halves will fall back to Earth where SpaceX recovered them to refurbish and reuse on future flights. In case of a crewed or cargo mission, the payload fairing is replaced with Dragon spacecraft. Dragon is capable of carrying up to 7 people and cargo in the air in the spacecraft's pressurized section or both together. In addition, Dragon can carry cargo in spacecraft unpressurized trunk, which can also accommodate secondary payloads. Here is a short video of a fairing separation test by SpaceX at NASA Glen Plum Brook Station, which offers the world's largest vacuum chamber. So Simon, as you know that the Starliner has some problems in its center upper stage for some valves to be replaced, so it is not expected earlier than 17th of this May. Coming back to our Falcon 9, right below the fairing we got our second stage that has single Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine, which can produce a 981 kilonewton of thrust, and that will ignite shortly after stage separation to take the payloads to their target orbits. Also, it can be restarted multiple times to place multiple payloads in different orbits. It will be fired twice on today's flight. It will be fired twice on today's flight, but the third time in the end to deorbit it. It will ignite a third time after the deployment of Starlink satellite for a deorbit burn to drive the upper stage back into the atmosphere, where it will burn up to help eliminate the risk of unnecessary space debris. It's a modified Merlin engine only, equipped with large nozzle, which is optimized for burns in vacuum of space, which can produce slightly more than around 0.22 million pound of thrust, and the MVAC engine burned the same propellant mix as the first stage, that is kerosene and liquid oxygen. Now below the second stage we got the interstage. Interstage is a composite structure consisting of aluminum honeycomb core which is surrounded by carbon fiber, whereas the Merlin vacuum's nozzle, and the inner stage is what connects two stages, and also houses the center pusher mechanism that separates the first and second stages around 2.5 minutes in flight. It consists of deployable hypersonic grade fins, which are titanium winglets that provide orientation and stability for Falcon 9 as it comes back to Earth's atmosphere. Located at upper part of the inner stage are three mechanical latches that connect to Falcon 9's second stage. After the engine cutoff of the first stage, high, excuse me, high pressure helium is used to release these latches, ensuring a smooth separation through pneumatic pushers. Now below the inner stage we got our first stage, that's also referred as the booster. The booster makes up the bottom two-thirds of the vehicle, which is mainly aluminum lithium alloy tank containing liquid oxygen and rocket grade kerosene RP1 propellant, and also it got 9 Merlin 1D engines at its base. You can see how it looks from the base of Falcon 9, those 9 Merlin engines. Now on the top right of your screen is Merlin 1D engine, and below that is the Merlin vacuum engine or MVAC engine. Falcon 9 generates more than 1.7 million pounds of thrust at sea level. Those engines do the bulk of work to get Falcon 9 off the ground from the launch pad into the thinner part of Earth's atmosphere. The 9 Merlin engines on the first stage are gradually throttled near the end of first stage flight to limit launch vehicle acceleration as the rocket's mass decreases with burning of fuel. These engines are also used to reorient the first stage prior to re-entry and to decelerate the vehicle for landing. Now we got the landing legs of Falcon 9 placed symmetrically around the base of Falcon 9 first stage are the 4 landing legs made of carbon fiber with aluminum honeycomb. They are stored at the base of vehicle and deployed just prior to landing. Now let's unpack some key features and milestones of this incredible spacecraft in a pictorial form. Here is a quick overview of Falcon 9. We got the fairing at the top. Below that we have second stage. Below that we have our interstage, and below that we have our first stage. And at the very bottom we got our 9 Merlin 1D engines and the landing legs. About 2.5 minutes into the flight, the stages will separate. The first stage will make its way back to Earth and it will be attempting drone ship landing. To plan Falcon 9's To plan the Falcon 9's first stage will come back to Earth for the 45th time this year, landing about 8.5 minutes after it launches on the drone ship Of Course I Still Love You, which will be stationed in the Pacific Ocean off the California coast. The Falcon 9's upper stage meanwhile will continue to haul the 20 Starlink satellites to low Earth orbit. The spacecraft are set to be deployed there about 61 minutes after liftoff. We will be talking about the launch timeline and post-launch timeline very soon. Hello Don Porter, welcome. We are watching Starlink 8-2 mission. It is yet to start. We have some time, so we are discussing about other things related with Falcon 9 and today's mission. Thank you, and we are glad that you visited us. Hello Fairmaid, thank you. I hope you are doing well. Thank you again for visiting us and hope you got my messages on Facebook. I hope you are doing great. Now coming back to today's mission, we got our booster with tail number 1082 and looking back to its flight history. It's quite a new booster with 3 previous flights in its milestone, including the USSF 62 launch on April 11, 2024, and 2 Starlink missions, all from same pad as of today's launch, that is pad SLC-4D, that is Space Launch Complex 4 East here at Vandenberg. The Starlink missions were landed on the same drone ship as today's landing. Of course, I still love you. Now awaiting its 4th flight, upcoming few minutes away. Just excuse me for a while, let me check the launch will be going on time or not from SpaceX. So far it looks good. The time is still the same. They still didn't push the time further. It's 8:20 Pacific time. Now let's have a look at the bar graphs. Before today's launch, SpaceX had made 47 launches, which is just nearly half of the launches made in previous year, including yesterday's Starlink launch of Group 6-56. Today's mission was planned for yesterday, but for some reason it was postponed to May 9th, that is today. We are glad that you are watching from Thailand, Dawn. Really, it means a lot for your support and your visit. And this is Mickey 534. Yes, mission is go on time. Till now, I just checked the time from SpaceX. They are on time. They have not pushed the time further anymore. It's so nice of you, Fairmate, and really I'm sorry for all these things happening, as you know. But thanks for your support. Now, with today's launch, the bar graph depicts 48 launches so far this year. SpaceX has reached halfway to the number of launches made last year with just 4 months and 9 days of this year. At this rate, SpaceX is projected to achieve between 140 and 148 total launches this year alone. It's clear that SpaceX is moving steadily towards their ambitious goal. Hopefully they will achieve it. SpaceX is currently targeting a liftoff time of Falcon 9 from Vandenberg at 11:20 p.m. Eastern Time, which will be 8:20 p.m. Pacific Time, both on 9th May and 3:20 a.m. UTC on 10th May for our friends joining from around the globe. While we progress through our timeline of expected events, we would like to express our gratitude to our viewers who are joining us live. Your presence is greatly appreciated. If you haven't already, please consider liking this video to help more space enthusiasts and rocket enthusiasts discover this live launch coverage. Additionally, we are grateful for the wonderful channel community on YouTube accompanying us. Thank you all. Now let's move ahead and have a look through the timeline and the milestones that lie ahead for us on this Vandenberg fight. Countdown begins at this point. SpaceX launch director will give go for start of propellant load that happened in T-38 minutes. If everything looks fine with the data given, prop load begins at T-30 minutes mark with the loading of rocket grade kerosene or RP1 on board the first stage and second stages of Falcon 9 rocket. At the same time, LOX load super chilled liquid oxygen is loaded on board the first stage. And then at T-16 minutes, which will be the next event that we are looking for here, that's when the second stage liquid LOX load begins. At T-7 minutes, that's when the chill down of 9 Merlin engine gets underway. It involves flowing a small amount of liquid oxygen through plumbing and turbo pumps, which helps protect the engine from risk of thermal shocks and damage during the startup sequence. At about 6 minutes before liftoff, the first stage kerosene tank should be full. In T-4.5 minutes, the Strongback retract sequence begins. The process begins with the clamp arms underneath the payload fairing opening up, followed by transport erector or Strongback reclining about 13 degrees away from Falcon 9. It remains in that position until liftoff. It's when it rapidly pulls back to clear the way for the Falcon 9 rocket's vertical ascent. So the Strongback position along the vehicle, also referred as transport erector, fulfills multiple functions. It supplies propellants, provides air conditioning, pressurization gases, and electrical power. Additionally, it transports the Falcon 9 to Launchpad and positions it for the launch. At T-3 minute mark, the first stage liquid oxygen loading should be complete, followed by the second stage liquid oxygen loading wrapping up at T-2 mark. At this point, the Falcon 9 rocket is fully fueled with 1 million pounds of propellant. At T-1 minute mark, the propellant tanks are brought up to flight pressure. In the final 60-second countdown, the control of the flight system, that is launch sequence, is handed over from the ground sequencer for the Falcon's onboard flight computers. If everything looks good, at T-45 second mark, the launch director will give the final go for Falcon 9 liftoff. Now at T-3 seconds, the engine ignition sequence start, command being issued by onboard engine controller. And finally, T0, we have liftoff. If all 9 engines ignite and are healthy, flight computers will give the command for hold down clamps to release the Falcon 9. Currently targeting at 11:20 p.m. Eastern Time, 8:20 p.m. Pacific Time on 9th May, which will be 3:20 a.m. UTC on 10th May. For Tripica, yes, it is a California launch from Vandenberg Space Force Base, Space Launch Complex 4 East. We are glad that you visited us. Now let's go ahead and briefly step through the trajectory for today's mission with spacecraft on board, the batch of 20 Starlink satellites, 13 with direct-to-cell capability Starlink satellites as well. Falcon 9 will lift off from Space Launch Complex 4E East and Vandenberg Space Ports in southeast trajectory along the coast of Southern California, heading into a low Earth orbit, that is to sixth shell of Starlink constellation. Indicated by that green line on your screen. The red line you see indicates where the Falcon 9 first stage will land after stage separation. Just a little later, leaving California's coast. This is going to be a off the land landing, a drone ship landing with autonomous spaceport drone ship named, of course, I Still Love You, here on West Coast, which means the first stage booster with tail number 1082 flying for a fourth time will be returning, heading out to the drone ship. Currently there are 3 in SpaceX drone ships fleet. We anticipate the addition of a fourth drone ship possibly occurring late this year or in early next year. Out of 3, just read the instruction, and a shortfall of gravitas are based here at Florida, and another, of course, I Still Love You, is based in California. Now, just for a quick knowledge, in case of RTLS, return to launch site operation, as we recently saw in Vandenberg space launch of Maxar 1 mission, the rocket lands at a predetermined landing site, which are the SpaceX landing zones, usually only its propulsion system. But when propellant margins do not permit a RTLS landing, rockets return to a floating landing platform in the ocean, that is, a drone ship. It is just for a quick, like a fun fact for you guys, that what happens if a booster run out of its propellant for a predetermined launch site landing. Now here is a video of a fairing half as it returns the Earth's atmosphere, creating a halo around it. The 2 halves of the payload fairing will be recovered slightly farther downrange from where the first stage land on the drone ship. After, they will smoothly splash down with the guidance of parachutes. SpaceX will utilize a recovery vessel to retrieve them from specific waters. SpaceX manufactures the Fairing in-house with the total cost of two halves is nearly $6 million. No wonder that SpaceX aims to recover the fairing for repetitive use, mirroring its approach with rocket boosters, upholding the motto of reusability. Let's have a quick look through the launch timeline for Falcon 9's rocket passing these events following liftoff. Well, we got a question from Pop Tripika. I guess, as far as I remember the most recent failure of Falcon 9 rocket occurred during the Starlink launch itself on, I guess it is February 16th, 2021, if I'm not wrong. So let's go through the timeline. At t plus 1 minute and 12 seconds, Falcon 9 will pass through max Q with a point of greatest aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. Then there will be a few milestones in rapid succession. First will be at t plus 2 minutes and 31 seconds, first stage main engine cutoff, that is MECO, followed by a major milestone within 3 seconds at t plus 2 minutes and 34 seconds, first and second stage separation. Again just after 6 seconds later at t plus 2 minutes and 41 seconds, second stage MVAC engine starts, that is SES1. Coming up next at t plus 3 minutes and 5 minutes mark, Falcon 9's payload pairing will be jettisoned. At t plus 6 minutes and 10 seconds, the first stage entry burn will begin, lasting for 20 seconds approximately, up to 6 minutes and 31 seconds mark, ending the entry burn. At this time around, we will hear the callouts for stage 1 and stage 2 FTS has been saved. We will also hear the callouts for stage 1 being transonic and stage 2 being in terminal guidance. Next major milestone at t plus 7 minutes and 55 seconds, the first stage landing burn will begin, which will orient and set up the first stage for SpaceX iconic precision landing. At t plus 8 minutes and 18 seconds, first stage will land on Of Course I Still Love You drone ship, marking 306th landing to date. Now at t plus 8 minutes and 43 seconds, the second stage MVAC engine will cut off, that is SECO 1, and enter into a parking orbit. T plus 52 minutes and 31 seconds mark, we will be having the second stage MVAC engine will reignite for a brief 1 second burn, that is SES2. also known as second stage engine start, and turning it off at T plus 54 minutes and 32 seconds, that is C42, second stage engine cutoff, which will set up Starlink deployment at approximately T plus 1 hour and 1 minute. Let's have a look at the chats. Yes, Pop Treats, your name is a little hard to pronounce. Pop Tripika, yes, I got it right. Pop Tripika, yes. For now, we got a tentative date for Starliner launch, that is on 17th May. So far, so good. The time is still now the same. The SpaceX didn't push the time away. I was just checking whether the liftoff time is being pushed or not, but it's still on time. So here is a pictorial form of today's overall timeline, which I just mentioned. Sorry, excuse me, this was for a drone ship, not for a drone ship landing, it was for a landing zone landing. So here is a pictorial form for the today's launch. Now here is a Falcon 9 first stage on-board video for you to understand the overall launch. As we lift off passing through Max Q, we will see the stage separation soon. And here we got the MECO. Yes, it got the MECO, and here we got the stage separation. After that, the first stage is rising towards the apogee, then deploying the hypersonic grid pins to orient the first stage for landing. You can see intermittent nitrogen gas bursts for altitude control. Then we have a entry burn while entering back into the Earth's atmosphere. And finally the landing burn and the landing legs being deployed and a sweet nice landing. Now coming to some stats related to today's mission launch. Before that, let me have a look to our chat. Pop Tripika, yes, so Twitter is saying the launch is delayed. Please excuse me for a while. Let me check. So yes, guys, the launch is being delayed. Thanks for the update, Pop Tripika. So now the new launch time is at 12:23 a.m. Eastern Time. That it's on May 10th now. It is 9:23 Pacific Time. So let's get back to our mission stats. All these mission stats are being saved, including today's launch. Today's launch marks 343rd SpaceX overall launch and 33rd dedicated launch of Starlink satellites. This is the 333rd Falcon 9 launch to date. This will be the fourth flight of this particular booster with tail number 1082. Quite a new and young one. Is the 48th Falcon 9 launch of 2024 and is SpaceX 49th launch of 2024, including the Starship third integrated flight test back in Texas. This is SpaceX 276th Falcon booster reflight, the launch of a booster that has flown at least once before. Today's launch also marks 76th orbital launch for SpaceX launching from pad Space Launch Complex 4E, that is from Vandenberg. This is the 144th overall orbital launch from this pad. And get this, with this mission, SpaceX has now a whopping 6,393 Starlink satellites launched. That's pretty incredible, right? Now moving to some reusability statistics. This is the 89th landing of Of course I Still Love You drone ship. fourth landing of the first stage booster with tail number 1082, which paves the way to the 238th overall drone ship landing and 306th SpaceX overall booster landing to date. So our own Rand, welcome. Thanks for visiting us. We are grateful that you are here with us. So the launch time, yes, it's actually in Pacific time. It's nearly, yes, you are right, 9:30, or to me it's 9:28. Maybe I'm calculating it wrong, but it's just 2 minute difference. So it's around that time only, 9:30 p.m. Pacific time. You can say it, and in Eastern time it will be 12:28 a.m. Friday. And also the time of launch, it will be 4:28 a.m. Friday UTC. While we progress to our stats, we are really thankful for all of you who are visiting us. Your presence is really greatly appreciated. We are grateful for the wonderful channel community here on YouTube accompanying us. If you haven't already, please consider liking this video to help more people, more space enthusiasts and rocket chasers discover this live launch coverage. Actually, you being liking this stream will be making YouTube algorithm to push it farther to reach more people. Thank you all for visiting us here. Now let's break down some key stats for SpaceX launch in this year, including today's mission. So SpaceX has a total of 49 launches, and out of those 15 were non-Starlink missions. They have reused booster for 46 of those launches, showing their commitment to sustainability. Now let's talk geographically. They have 33 launches from East Coast, with 11 from Launch Complex 39A, that is from Kennedy Space Center, and 22 from Space Launch Complex 40, that is Cape Canaveral. On the West Coast, we got 15 launches, all from Vandenberg, Space Launch Complex 4 East. Plus, there was one launch from the Gulf Coast at Starbase for the Starship 3rd Integrated Flight Test. As for landings, they have nailed it 47 times. Most of them were on drone ships, with 35 successful landings, 12 on Of Course I Still Love You, including one from today, 10 on Just Read the Instructions, and 13 on A Shortfall of Gravitas, respectively. And for the ground landings, they have pulled off 12, with 8 on Landing Zone 1, only 1 on Landing Zone 2, and 3 on Landing Zone 4. Looking back to the chat, William, welcome William. Thanks for visiting us. We are happy that you visited us and are watching this live stream. Yes, it is from a California launch happening from Vandenberg's Spaceport Base, Space Launch Complex 4 East. We are really glad that you visited us, William. But as you might be not knowing or may be knowing, the launch has been postponed a little bit. Not postponed means not on any other date, but just pushed a little far from the launch in the launch window. That is, now they are targeting at 12:28 a.m. Eastern Time and 9:28 p.m. Pacific Time, and also 4:28 a.m. Friday UTC. That's nice, William. You can see it on your own. We are happy for you. Now moving on to some other stats. Orbital launches so far this year, including today's launch. USA is absolutely crushing it with 55 orbital launches, making up a massive 61.8 of global total. China not too far behind, claiming 23.6% with 21 launches. Russia is keeping a steady pace with 6 launches, while Japan with 3 launches so far. India and Iran both with 2 launches are also on board. It's a tight competition, but USA and China are clearly leading the charge in this year's space exploration efforts. Now, today's launch mission involves direct-to-cell satellites. So SpaceX direct-to-cell is a technology developed by Starlink team. It's like having a cell phone tower in space. This technology allows your cell phone to connect directly to satellites. This I'm saying in a layman term for audience to understand it more clearly. Imagine you are in a remote area where there is no cell tower nearby. Normally you won't get any signal on your phone, right? But with direct to cell, your phone can get a signal directly from a Starlink satellite over it. And for this, you don't need to make any changes on your existing LTE phone or download any special apps. It is designed to work with common LTE standards. Whether you are on land, lakes, or coastal waters, as long as you can see the sky, you can get a signal. It provides connectivity in remote regions, giving you peace of mind when you need it most. So, coming back to the chat, yes, William, it is being postponed. I said the time. It is 12:28 a.m. Friday Eastern Time, 9:28 p.m. Thursday Pacific Time, and 4:28 a.m. Friday UTC as of now, if SpaceX doesn't push the time anymore. Also, for the audience joining us from India, the launch time is 9:58 a.m. here, IST. Now, as we got some time, it's nearly 1 hour left. So let's head back to learn about our Falcon 9 a little bit more. So far, SpaceX reports that the weather is looking great for today's Falcon 9 launch opportunity and the range is ready to support. But if for some reason we don't launch today, we do have an additional opportunity tomorrow, that is Friday, May 10th, with launch window opening at 8:20 p.m. Pacific time, that is 11:21 p.m. Eastern time. As I mentioned before, Falcon 9 that's supporting today's mission is the world's first orbital class reusable two-stage rocket with height of 70 meters, that is 229.6 feet, and diameter of 3.7 meters, that is 12 that is 3.7 meter, which is 12 feet. It is designated for reliable and safe transportation of satellites, cargo, and people into Earth orbit and beyond. At the very top of rocket is the payload fairing, made up of a carbon composite material with a height of 13.1 meter or 43 feet and 5.2 meter or 17.1 feet in diameter. The fairing is an important part in a rocket launch. The fairing is a protective shell that houses all of the spacecraft and shields them from aerodynamic heating and mechanical stresses that happens as we ride through the Earth's atmosphere. The aerodynamic shape of the fairing also contributes to Falcon 9's overall efficiency, reducing drag as we accelerate through the lower parts of Earth's atmosphere. But once we get to the vacuum of space, those two fairing halves separate, exposing the payload within, and then those fairing halves will fall back to Earth where SpaceX recovered them to be refurbished and reused on future flights. In case of a crewed or cargo mission, the payload fairing is replaced with Dragon spacecraft. Dragon is capable of carrying up to 7 people and cargo in the spacecraft's pressurized section or both together. In addition, Dragon can carry cargo in spacecraft unpressurized trunk, which can also accommodate secondary payloads. This is a short video of the fairing separation test conducted by SpaceX at NASA Glen Plum Brook Station, which offers the world's largest vacuum chamber. This video is being slowed down so that you can see it actually happening. In real time. It's a very dynamic process, and it happens in a very fast pace. As you can read on the screen, it happens at the 4x, like the 4 times the speed of a speeding bullet. So coming back to our Falcon 9, we got our second stage just below the fairing that has single Merlin vacuum engine or MVAC engine, which can produce 981 kilonewton of thrust, and that will ignite shortly after stage separation to take the payloads to their target orbits. Also, it can be restarted multiple times to place multiple payloads in different orbits, as we saw in different rideshare missions. It will be fired twice on today's flight. It will ignite a third time after the deployment of Starlink satellite for a deorbit burn to drive the upper stage back into the atmosphere, where it will burn up to help eliminate the risk of any unnecessary space debris. The MVAC engine or Merlin vacuum engine is another class of Merlin engine only, equipped with a large nozzle which is optimized for burns in vacuum of space, which can produce slightly more than 0.22 million pounds of thrust, whereas our Merlin 1D engine produces 1.7 million pounds of thrust. And the MVAC engine burns the same propellant mix as the first stage, that is kerosene and liquid oxygen. Now below the second stage, we got the interstage, that black band kind of you can see on Falcon 9, that itself is the interstage. Interstage is a composite structure consisting of aluminum honeycomb core which is surrounded by carbon fiber, where is the Merlin vacuum nozzle, and the inner stage is what connects the two stages, both the stage 1 and stage 2, and also houses the center pusher mechanism that separates the first and second stages around 2.5 minutes into the flight. It consists of deployable hypersonic grid fins, which are titanium winglets that provide orientation and stability for Falcon 9 as it comes back through atmosphere. Located at the upper part of inner stage are three mechanical latches that connect to the Falcon 9's second stage. After the main engine cutoff of the first stage, high pressure helium is used to release those latches, ensuring a smooth separation through pneumatic pushers that helps the first stage to push itself against the second stage and to come back down on Earth. So let's have look to our chats. If I'm not wrong and I'm not pronouncing the name, please I beg your pardon. Feld, right? Thanks for visiting us. Watching from Lindsay. Oh, your girlfriend. I'm sorry, I got it wrong. Your girlfriend didn't say it's her birthday, so it's nice. Wishes from us. I hope she will do best in her life and always will be blessed by God. Thanks for visiting us and sharing your these feelings with us, and we are really grateful for your love. For Tripika, yes, okay, fine. Of course, there is still nearly 1 hour left. We will be waiting for you to come back, and no need to say thanks. It's our duty to let you know and to have the coverage. Now heads back to our Falcon 9. Now below the inner stage, we got our first stage that's also referred to as booster. In this case today launch, the booster is 1082 with the tail number. Awaiting its fourth flight for Falcon 9. The booster makes up the bottom two-thirds of the vehicle, which is mainly aluminum lithium alloy tanks containing liquid oxygen and rocket grade kerosene RP1 propellant, and it got 9 Merlin 1D engine at its base. Right on your screen you can see how it looks. Now on the top right of your screen is the Merlin 1D engine, and below that is the Merlin vacuum engine or MVAC engine. As I mentioned before, Falcon 9 generates more than 1.7 million pounds of thrust at sea level, whereas this MVAC engine produces 0.22 million pounds of thrust. But both have two different purposes. Merlin vacuum engine is mainly used for Merlin vacuum engines are mainly used for in space vacuum, but here these 9 Merlin 1D engines do the bulk of the work to get Falcon 9 off the ground from Launchpad into the thinner part of the Earth's atmosphere. The 9 Merlin engines on the first stage are gradually throttled near the end of the first stage flight to limit launch vehicle acceleration as the rocket's mass decreases with the burning of fuel. These engines are also used to reorient the first stage prior to re-entry and to deaccelerate the vehicle for landing. We are happy for you, Feld, that you are watching these launches from Scottsdale. Feld is joining us from Arizona, and it's his girlfriend's Lindsay's birthday today. Wishes from us. Now, for the landing legs placed symmetrically around the base of Falcon 9 first stage are the 4 landing legs made of carbon fiber with aluminum honeycomb. They are stored at the base of the vehicle and deploy just prior to landing. Now let's unpack some of the key features and milestones of this incredible spacecraft in a pictorial form. Here is a quick overview of Falcon 9. Now coming back to the booster history. Today we have booster with tail number 1082. It's quite a new booster with 3 previous flights in its milestone, including the USSF-62, which was a weather satellite for US Space Force, which was launched on April 11th, 2024, and 2 Starlink missions, all from the same pad as of today's launch, that is pad Space Launch Complex 4E here at Vandenberg. The Starlink missions were landed on the same drone ship as well as today's landing, that is on Of Course I Still Love You. Now the booster is awaiting its fourth flight coming up in few minutes. So confession at 3 a.m. Thanks that you visited us. You are always being a perpetual supporter for us. We are trying to do our best. I don't know whether we are fulfilling up to your expectation or not, but still trying to do our best. Thanks for visiting us. We are glad that you are with us. We know you will be heading for your work now, but still you strive to visiting us. Now let's look the bar graph for Falcon 9 launches this year. Before today's launch, that is yesterday, May 8th, we got to see Starlink Group 6-56 launch, and with that SpaceX had made 47 launches, which is just nearly half of the launches made in the previous year. Now confession at 3 a.m. This is AstroYonder's voice. He is doing commentary. Okay. This is not AstroYonder's voice. AstroYonder is the name of the channel. My name is Liftoff. I am giving the commentary today. Thanks for your support. Now with today's launch, as of May 9, the bar graph depicts 48 launches so far this year. SpaceX has reached halfway to the number of launches made last year, just within 4 months and 9 days of this year. SpaceX is targeting 148 launches this year, and at this rate, SpaceX is projecting to achieve between 140 to 148 total launches this year alone. It's clear that SpaceX is moving steadily towards their ambitious goal. SpaceX has pushed its liftoff time, which was previously 8:20 a.m. Pacific time, now to 9:30 Pacific time, which is 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. Excuse me, I was wrong. It was 9:30 p.m. Pacific time, which is 12:30 a.m. Friday Eastern time. And 4:30 a.m. Friday UTC. Now let's go ahead as we progress through the countdown and awaiting our liftoff and review the milestones that lie ahead for us on this Vandenberg flight. Countdown begins at this point. SpaceX launch director have given the go for the start of propellant load that happened in T minus 38 minutes. And if everything looks fine with the data given, prop load begins at T minus 30 minutes mark with the loading of rocket grade kerosene or RP1 on board the first stage and the second stages of the Falcon 9 rocket. At the same time, LOX load, that is super chilled liquid oxygen, is loaded on board the first stage. And then at T minus 16 minutes, which will be the next event we are looking for here, that's when the second stage liquid oxygen load begins. At T minus 7 minutes, that's when the chill down of the 9 Merlin engine get underway. It involves flowing a small amount of liquid oxygen through the plumbing and turbo pumps that helps protect the engine from risk of thermal shocks and damage during the startup sequence. At about 6 minutes before liftoff, the first stage kerosene tank should be full. And at T minus 4.5 minute mark, the Strongback retract sequence begins. The process begins with the clamp arms underneath the payload fairing opening up, followed by the transport erector or Strongback reclining about 13 degrees away from the Falcon 9. It remains in that position until liftoff. It's when it rapidly pulls back to clear the way for Falcon 9 rocket's vertical ascent. So at Vandenberg, the Strongback reclining process is a little different from Launch Complex 39A and Space Launch Complex 40, where we recline the Strongback about 1.5 degrees, but here at Vandenberg, we recline it about 13 degrees away from Falcon 9. So the Strongback positioned along the vehicle, also referred as transport erector, or in short TE, fulfills multiple functions. It supplies propellant, provides air conditioning, pressurization gases, and electrical power. Additionally, it transports the Falcon 9 to the launch pad and positions it for the launch. At the T-3 minute mark, the first stage liquid oxygen loading should be complete, followed by second stage liquid oxygen loading, wrapping up at T-2 mark. At that point, the Falcon 9 rocket is fully fueled with 1 million pounds of propellant. At T-1 minute mark, the propellant tanks are brought up to flight pressure. In the final 60-second countdown, the control of flight system, that is launch sequence, is handed over from the ground sequencer to the Falcon 9's onboard flight computers. And if everything looks good, at T-45 seconds mark, the launch director will give the final go for Falcon 9 liftoff. Now at T-3 seconds, the engine ignition sequence, start command being issued by onboard engine controller. Finally, at T0, we have liftoff, and if all 9 Merlin 1D engines ignite and are healthy, flight computers will give the command for hold down clamps to release the Falcon 9. Currently targeting at 9:30 p.m. Pacific time, 12:30 a.m. Eastern time, and 4:30 a.m. UTC. Looking back to the chats, Bass Inspector K, welcome to our channel. Thanks for visiting us, and it's so nice that you are wishing to Ferret for his girlfriend's birthday. We are happy that you are with us, Bass Inspector. It really means a lot. Let's go ahead and briefly step through the trajectory for today's mission. With the spacecraft on board, the batch of 20 Starlink satellites, 13 with direct-to-cell capabilities, Starlink satellite as well. Falcon 9 will lift off from Space Launch Complex 4 East from Vandenberg Space Force Base in a southeastern trajectory along the coast of Southern California, heading into a low Earth orbit, that is to the sixth shell of Starlink constellation, indicated by the green line on your screen. The red line you see indicates where Falcon 9 first stage will land after stage separation, just a little later, leaving California's coast. This is going to be a off-the-land landing, a drone ship landing using autonomous spaceport drone ship, named of course I Still Love You. And it will be the 89th landing on of course I Still Love You drone ship, with this landing of booster with the tail number 1082, which is supporting today's mission. And The booster 1082 is flying for the fourth time, which is a new booster compared to other siblings of Falcon 9 boosters. Currently, there are three in SpaceX drone ship fleet. We do anticipate the addition of a fourth drone ship, possibly occurring late this year or in early next year. Out of three, just read the instruction and a shortfall of gravitas are based at Florida, and another, of course I Still Love You, is based here in California. Also, for recovering the fairing halves, SpaceX has two recovery vessels named Bob and Doug. The two halves of the payload fairing will be recovered slightly farther downrange from where the first stage lands on the drone ship. After, they will smoothly splash down with the guidance of parachute. On your screen you can see how a fairing lands on a sea with the help of parachute. SpaceX will utilize a recovery vessel to retrieve them from Pacific waters. You can see on your screen how a fairing recovery looks like. SpaceX has named its two new recovery ships Bob and Doug after NASA astronauts, and the first crew SpaceX launched from NASA under Commercial Crew Program, Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley, on the Demo 2 mission to the International Space Station back in 2020. SpaceX manufactures the fairing in-house with the total cost of two halves is nearly $6 million. No wonder that SpaceX aims to recover the fairing for repetitive use, showcasing its approach with rocket boosters, upholding the motto of reusability. SpaceX has dedicated years of effort to the recovery and reuse of payload fairings. Here is a video of a fairing half as it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere, creating a halo around it. Now let's have a look through the launch timeline for the Falcon 9 rocket, passing these events following liftoff. At t plus 1 minute and 12 seconds, Falcon 9 will pass through max Q with a point of greatest aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. Then there will be a few different milestones in rapid succession. First will be at t plus 2 minutes and 31 seconds, first stage main engine cutoff, that is MECO, followed by a major milestone within 3 seconds at t plus 2 minutes and 30 seconds, first and second stage separation. Again, just after 6 seconds later at t plus 2 minutes and 41 seconds, second stage MVAC engine starts, that is SCS1. Coming up next at t plus 3 minutes and 5 seconds mark, Falcon 9's payload fairing will be jettisoned, and you will be hearing a call out fairing separation. At t plus 6 minutes and 10 seconds, the first stage entry burn will begin, lasting for 20 seconds up to 6 minutes and 31 seconds mark, ending the entry burn. At this time, we will hear the callouts for stage 1 and stage 2 FTS being saved. We will also hear the callouts for stage 1 being transonic and stage 2 being in-terminal guidance. Next major milestone at t plus 7 minutes and 55 seconds, the first stage landing burn will begin, which will orient and set up the first stage for SpaceX iconic precision landing. At t plus 8 minutes and 18 seconds, first stage will land on, of course, I Still Love You drone ship, marking the 306th landing to date. Now at t plus 8 minutes and 43 seconds, the second stage MVAC engine will cut off, that is SECO 1, and enter into a parking orbit. At t plus 52 minutes and 31 seconds, the second stage MVAC engine will reignite for a brief 1 second burn, that is SES2, second stage engine start, and turning it off at t plus 54 minutes and 32 seconds, that is SECO 2, second stage engine cutoff, which will set up Starlink's deployment at approximately t plus 1 hour and 1 minute from liftoff. Here is a overall flight procedure in a pictorial form, starting from launch to ascent, then stage separation. After that, we have flip maneuver for the booster. On the top right, there is fairing separation and payload separation, and below that we have entry burn. First we have grid fins deploy, then we have entry burn, then the booster will go through aerodynamic guidance, leading it to have a vertical landing on drone ship. that is for today is Of Course I Still Love You, marking its 89th landing. Also, this landing will be SpaceX 238 drone ship landing and 306th overall SpaceX booster landing. Again, here is a quick video of the Falcon 9 with a camera on board from liftoff to landing. In this case, it is a land landing, and you are getting to see now we have a MECO and stage separation, and now the Falcon 9 booster is rising towards apogee, then deploying the hypersonic grid pins to reorient the first stage for landing. You can see intermittent nitrogen gas burst for altitude control. This nitrogen gas boost also helps to reorient the position of Falcon 9, and as you saw that there was a entry burn while entering back into Earth's atmosphere. Excuse me. And finally landing burn, then we had landing legs being deployed and a sweet nice landing. Now before coming to the stats, let me check whether the time of liftoff is still the same or not. Okay, so far SpaceX has not pushed the time of liftoff any more further. It is still 9:30 p.m. Pacific time, which is 12:30 a.m. Eastern time and 4:30 p.m. UTC. So heading back to the stats for today's mission. The launch marks 343rd SpaceX overall launch and 33rd dedicated launch of Starlink satellite. This is the 333rd Falcon 9 launch to date. This will be the fourth flight of this particular booster with tail number 1082, which is quite a new and young one. Lots of missions still ahead of it. Is the 48th Falcon 9 of 2024 launch and is SpaceX 49th launch of 2024, including the Starship third integrated flight test back in Texas. This is SpaceX 276th Falcon booster flight, the launch of a booster that has flown at least once before. 76th orbital launch for SpaceX, launching from Pad Space Launch Complex 4E, that is from Vandenberg Space Force Base. This is the 144th overall orbital launch from this pad. And with this mission, SpaceX have 6,393 Starlink satellites being launched. Now moving on to some reusability statistics. This is the 89th landing on Of Course I Still Love You drone ship. Fourth landing of the first stage booster with tail number 1082, which paves the way to the 238th overall drone ship landing and 306th SpaceX overall booster landing to date. Now let's break down some key stats for SpaceX launches in this year, including today's mission. So SpaceX has a total of 49 launches, and out of those 15 were non-Starlink missions. So SpaceX has a total of 49 launches, and out of those 15 were non-Starlink missions. They have reused booster for 46 of those launches, showing their commitment to sustainability and reusability. Now let's talk geographically. They have 33 launches from East Coast, with 11 from Launch Complex 39A, that is Kennedy Space Center, back at Florida, and 22 from Space Launch Complex 40, also from Florida. On West Coast, it got 15 launches, all from Space Launch Complex 4 East, that is Vandenberg Spaceport base. Plus there was one launch from Gulf Coast at Starbase back in Texas for the Starship third integrated flight test. The fourth integrated flight test is coming nearby, as we saw a recent booster a ship static fire. As for landing, they have nailed it 47 times. Most of them were on drone ships, with 35 successful landings, 12 on Of Course I Still Love You, including one from today, 10 on Just Read the Instruction drone ship, and 13 on a shortfall of gravitas. And for ground landings, they have pulled off 12 with 8 landings on landing zone 1, with only 1 landing on landing zone 2, and finally 3 landings on landing zone 4 respectively. So far the launch schedule looks good. It's still on 9:30 p.m. Pacific time, which is 12:30 a.m. Friday Eastern time, and 4:30 a.m. Friday UTC. Moving on to orbital launches so far this year, including today's launch. USA is absolutely crushing it with 55 orbital launches, making up a massive 61.8 of the global total. China is also not too far behind, claiming 23.6% with 21 launches. Russia is keeping a steady pace with 6 launches till now, while Japan with 3 launches so far. India and Iran, both with 2 launches, are also on board. It's a tight competition, but USA and China are clearly leading the charge in this year's space exploration efforts. Coming up for China, we have Long March 4C launch. Also, Rocket Lab is preparing for its next launch, named Ready Aim Free Fire, from New Zealand. Russia is also gearing up with Progress MS-27 launch via Soyuz 2.1A rocket from Baikonur Cosmodrome, Kazakhstan. Meanwhile, the Starliner crew flight test is having some trouble, so it got postponed to May 7th as of now, being updated by Boeing Space. And upcoming SpaceX mission is Group 6-58 Starlink mission on May 12th from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, Florida. Now today we are landing on a drone ship, but just for a quick knowledge, what happens in case when we are attempting a land landing but the booster is out of its propellant? What happens? In case of RTLS, that is return to launch site operation, as we recently saw in Vandenberg launch of Maxar-1 mission, the rocket lands at a predetermined landing site, which are the SpaceX landing zones, only using its propulsion system. But in case if the propellant margins do not permit a RTLS landing, that is return to launch site landing, rockets return to a floating landing platform in ocean, that is a drone ship. Now let's see and briefly step through the trajectory of today's mission with spacecraft on board the batch of 20 Starlink satellites, including 13 with direct-to-cell capabilities. Starlink satellites Falcon 9 will lift off from Space Launch Complex 4 east from Vandenberg Space Force Base in a southeastern trajectory along the coast of Southern California, heading into a low Earth orbit, that is to the cell of Starlink constellation, indicated by that green line on your screen. The red line you see indicates where Falcon 9 first stage will land after stage separation, just a little later, leaving California's coast. This is going to be a of the land landing, a drone ship landing using autonomous spaceport drone ship, named of course I Still Love You, here on West Coast, which means the first stage booster with tail number 1082 flying for a fourth time will be returning heading out to the drone ship. As today's mission involves direct-to-cell satellites, SpaceX direct-to-cell is a technology developed by Starlink team. It's like having a cell phone tower in space. This technology allows your cell phone to connect directly to satellites. You don't need to make any changes to your existing LTE phone or download any special apps. It is designed to work with common LTE standards. It provides a wide coverage whether you are on land, lakes or coastal waters. As long as you can see the sky, you can get a signal. Also, it is worth mentioning that these Starlink satellites are placed in low Earth orbit. For that, it is capable of providing very low latency of 20 milliseconds, if I'm not wrong, compared to traditional satellite internet communications. Also, this direct-to-cell technology, it provides connectivity in remote regions, giving you peace of mind where you need it most. Cellular providers using direct-to-cell have access to reciprocal global access in all partner nations. Right now on your screen, you are watching how a fairing splashes down on ocean using parachutes. Fairing is a two-piece protective shell made up of aluminum and carbon composite at the tip of Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy rockets. Its purpose is to protect the payload from acoustic and atmospheric effects during launch. A Falcon fairing is almost 14 meters tall. Each fairing half is equipped with a steerable parafoil with small thrusters which allows the fairing to re-enter the atmosphere intact and guide them towards a recovery zone. In the past, SpaceX attempted to land on modified ships with MS-3 and MS-C equipped with large nets, but this method had low success rate, so the fairing now lands on ocean and are now recovered by ship. This is how a fairing recovery looks like by fairing recovery vessels named Bob and Doug. SpaceX has named its two new recovery ships Bob and Doug after NASA astronauts, and the first crew SpaceX launched for NASA under commercial crew program, Bob Beacon and Doug Hurley, on Demo 2 mission to the International Space Station back in 2020. Now we are approaching towards the stream with only 1 minute left. Bob Tripika, thanks for coming back and joining us. Yes, indeed, direct to cell is a good technology. Sooner they will be providing the data communication through it also. I think early in 2025. Now let's head back to the stream as it is starting.
Falcon 9 tanks requesting for Strongback retract.
And you have heard that call out with pressurizing the tanks. We are putting a little bit of gas which kind of stiffens the tank up, and that way the clamp arms open up with a nice rigid structure for the Falcon 9 underneath them. Now once those arms are open, we then begin to recline the Strongback 13 degrees away from Falcon 9.
Strongback lower has started.
We have heard the call out. The process is now underway, and you can see clamp arms around the stage 2 are coming to open. You are seeing the clamp arms opening up here underneath the payload fairing, the transport ejector reclining 13 degrees away from vehicle, now less than 4 minutes away from liftoff. Currently everything looks fine, coming up on T-minus 3 minutes. Everything continues to be good. We are currently chilling in the Merlin engine back from T-minus 7 minutes when we open up the P-valves which allow the propellant down to the engines to get them prepared for the ignition just before T0. You can see the Strongback is now retracting away. It is a slow process. We have hydraulic actuators at the base of the Strongback that will pull it away. We do it slowly because you might be able to see those. We still have the lines
Stage 1 launch flow complete.
That are carrying liquid oxygen to the second stage, as well as electrical signals and the air conditioning up there in the payload fairing. We got the call out right on time. Liquid oxygen loading of the first stage is complete. We are now waiting for second stage that will finish up at just inside T-minus 2 minute mark. The Strongback here at Vandenberg, as I said before, is a bit different style from Cape Canaveral and Kennedy Space Center. There we recline only a couple of degrees, but here at Vandenberg we recline 77 degrees and then pull away out at liftoff. Now currently inside 2 minute mark, the range continues to be green and the weather of course
Stage 2 lock flow complete.
Has cooperated. And to call out our countdown, stage 2 lock load is complete. All propellants are now on board the Falcon 9
Ground
with
gas
1
close up.
million pounds of propellant. We are now beginning to vent down the pressure that was in the tubing on Strongback. That's why you can see the cloud coming out there. Call out for ground gas goes out. That's where we bleed the pressure off. And that cold gas, when it reacts with the moist humid air of Pacific Ocean, give you that nice white cloud, an indicator of launch upcoming.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Right on time, Falcon 9 flight computers on stage 1 and stage 2 are running the rocket through last minute of count. Now let's listen to the
launch.
go callouts. SpaceX director giving go for launch. We are coming on T-minus 30 seconds.
T-minus 30 seconds.
All system continues to remain go for launch of Falcon 9 and Starlink.
T-minus 15 seconds.
It's T-minus 15 seconds.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff. Falcon 9. Go Starlink. Go SpaceX.
There it goes. We have liftoff. Falcon 9 has cleared the tower.
Engine chamber pressure is nominal.
T plus 24 seconds into flight. Falcon 9 on its way with 20 Starlink satellites into low Earth orbit.
Power and telemetry nominal.
Good callouts there. Power telemetry nominal. Propulsion is nominal. We are into the throttle bucket where we are throttling down the 9 Merlin engines as we prepare for the period of maximum dynamic stress coming up. Now Falcon 9 is faster than a speeding bullet. We gone supersonic.
Max Q.
Max Q call out. We are through the period of maximum stress on the vehicle. We have throttled the Merlin engines back up to full power.
MVAC is chilling.
Right now, we started to chill down the MVAC engine on the second stage prior to its ignition just after stage separation. Coming up 3 events in rapid succession. The shutdown of main engine on first stage, that is main engine cutoff, MECO, followed by stage separation where the first stage pushes itself away from second stage. Ignition of second stage MVAC engine that will boost the payload into low Earth orbit. Let's hear the callouts.
MECO. Stage separation confirmed. MVAC ignition.
Right on time, we got callouts for MECO, stage separation confirmed, and MVAC ignition of second stage. The stage nitrogen thrusters is now beginning to reorient the first stage, and the flight computers has commanded the 4 hypersonic grid pins to slowly begin deploying now that the stage separation is successful.
Fairing separation confirmed.
Right on time, we got callout that the fairing has successfully separated. You are looking right now a view of first stage. Continue under the power of 3 Merlin engines. It will continue to rise towards apogee before descending back towards the landing on drone ship. Of course, I still love you. Stationed in Pacific Ocean.
Nominal trajectory.
Second stage, meanwhile, in the middle of its 6-minute burn, is on its way into parking orbit. We got call out for good performance and trajectory of both the first and second stage. During this portion of flight, stage 1 is using nothing but the grid pins for steering as it re-enters to Earth, and these grid pins orient the Falcon 9 during re-entry, and they help to guide the rocket during its descent. Now currently we are seeing a view of second stage, but occasionally you will see on the first stage nitrogen gas burst for altitude control on the left side of your screen, and these are basically used to position the vehicle as it heads back towards the drone ship. So right now we had a great launch. First stage has done its job so far. It's on its way back. Second stage is running at full power. We are getting great views from space, and we are now getting ready for the first stage to come back on drone ship landing site. Coming up, next milestone will be stage 1 entry burn starter.
Nominal trajectory.
Entry burn startup.
And here's the confirmation. We had just laid 3 of the Merlin 1D engines on the first stage. You can see now we are rapidly slowing down the vehicle as it enters the Earth's atmosphere, and this burn should last just around 21 seconds.
Entry burn shutdown.
And there we go. There's confirmation of shutdown of the entry burn on the first stage. The Falcon 9 first stage is equipped with 4 landing legs, and those are made up of state-of-art carbon fiber with an aluminum honeycomb. They are placed symmetrically around the base of the rocket, and they will deploy just prior to landing.
Stage 1 FTS saved.
We got the call out for the stage 1 FTS being saved. Thank you, Fairmate, for still being with us. Even
Stage 1 transonic.
you just heard that call out. Stage 1 is now traveling slower than the speed of sound as it heads towards landing. Speaking of landing, we are just about 60 seconds away from that.
Stage 1 landing burn.
There you go, great shot of that landing burn. You can see the center E9 engine has now lit. We are slowing the vehicle down very rapidly. Should be seeing those landing legs deploy any seconds now.
Landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And there you have it. We have successfully made
Stage 2 FTS is saved.
306th landing of an orbital class rocket. Coming up next, we will have the second stage ignition cutoff, or SECO-1, and following that we will enter into just about a 43-minute post phase as the vehicle ascends to its target orbit.
SEGO.
There we go, we got the SECO-1. And there is the call out we were waiting for, second stage ignition cutoff SECO-1, as well as the confirmation of a good orbit. Today's landing marks 306th overall landing of an orbital class rocket. With that, we will wrap up our coverage for now. Be sure to check out the social media for confirmation of Starlink deployment. Thank you so much for watching. And once again, thanks for joining us, showing your such patience, even though the stream was a bit long. Showing your love and understanding, staying till the end with us. We are glad to have you all here with us. Thank you so much for watching to everyone, and we will see you next time. Fairmate, thank you so much for being with us and continuing your support for us. See you next time. Take care.